On the flip side, let's talk about the time-boxed Scrumban. This one's a little different because it utilizes sprints as a way to segment out that particular project. You're segmenting out pieces, so you have a set start and a set end with a particular kind of section of that project where you're able to initiate planning and reviews and retrospectives. So that sprint is generally between 1 and 4 weeks. For Scrumban, it's highly recommended that your sprint is 2 weeks long. 1 week is a little too short. You end up doing a lot of those planning reviews and retrospective meetings. If you start going 3 or 4 weeks, it's hard to really plan that far out, plan 3 weeks or a month worth of work. So 2 weeks is recommended. And as I alluded to, in the time-box Scrumban, you are doing some of those Scrum type of structured meetings. You have your sprint planning meeting where you're going in, defining what you're committing to for that particular sprint. You have your sprint reviews where you're discussing how you guys performed in that sprint. Were there things that you were expecting to get done that you didn't get done? How did things work out compared to your estimates? That type of things. You're reviewing the sprint overall and discussing how things went. And then you're also doing the retrospective after every sprint, which is the team getting together and discussing how they can better work with each other. Are there bottlenecks or issues from a team standpoint that they can adjust? Are there additional resources that are needed? Are you able to release a resource that you no longer need? That type of thing. So you're doing a retrospective on the team for that particular sprint or for the project as a whole up to that point. Another key difference with the time-box Scrumban is the Kanban board. So if you look at the Kanban board here, our to-do column, our to-do status has changed to backlog. It could also be to-do, it's just text, but a lot of teams change it to backlog because that's what they're used to. The backlog, or the old to-do column, is going to house those user stories and work items that maybe aren't quite fully fleshed out yet. We haven't gotten all the details on it. It might be an idea. We might be starting to talk with various users or stakeholders about what they need in that. And once enough analysis has been done, enough details are on that particular user story or work item, then it gets moved to the ready column. That means, hey, this is ready for work. We have enough details here for a solution to be created or a feature to be created for this particular work item. So items go in the backlog, they get moved to ready once it's deemed that there's enough information, and then it moves through the process like it would in any other Kanban type of framework. You move it from the ready to the doing once you're actually starting to work on it, that work in progress, and then on to the done. Teams will use that ready column a little bit differently. Some will load up that ready column with any backlog item that's ready to go. Other teams will flag various work items in that backlog saying that these are ready, and then they only move them to ready once they're committed to for a particular sprint. There's no right or wrong way. It's really up to your team and the structure and the processes that you use within your organization to help move that forward successfully. And then finally, with the time-box Scrumban, you can utilize different metrics. So most of them that I see still utilize that lead and cycle time as their key metric because that really gives you a good idea of the flow and it helps to identify those bottlenecks. I have seen some using burn down charts for this. I wouldn't recommend it as much just because even if you're doing a time-box Scrumban, you're still trying to keep this as fluid as possible. You're trying to keep this moving forward, and having that burn down chart, it's just hard because do you do it based on the ready? Do you do it based on the backlog? How are you supposed to know? The backlog items don't have estimates, and it just gets really, really messy. I think most of the organizations that use burn down charts in the Scrumban are those that are coming from Scrum to Scrumban to try to get away from a little bit of that structure, and maybe burn down charts are just what everybody's used to on the projects, and so they continue to use it. But our recommendation is that you use lead and cycle times for your key metric for the time-box Scrumban.